And welcome back to another episode of the Bleed Los podcast, a live edition as we are on the eve of the MLB regular season kicking back off. I know we had the Tokyo series 2-game sweep that the Dodgers had. They got a head start over everybody, but the real show begins tomorrow at Dodger Stadium as they host the Detroit Tigers and reigning American League Cy Young Award winner Tariq Skubal against Blake Snell. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, and we got a special guest in Scott Gearman. But before we get into all of that, we want to thank our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Even if your bracket's already busted like mine, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with a free Sweet 16 bracket and live betting on every remaining tournament game. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to MLB, NHL, MMA, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports online betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more from every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. And obviously, if you're joining us in the comments section here and you're joining us for the first time, we got a guy who's pretty well known on the Dodgers social media sphere, and that is Scott Geirman. Scott, it's great to have you on. I feel like we've collaborated. We've talked behind the scenes. I know people are familiar with your work on Dodger Blue, Dodger Heads on the podcast front. You've been on Dodgers Territory, a part of the Foul Territory Network. So people know who you are, but if nobody does, now's the time to introduce yourself in the new Scott Gearman.
I appreciate you. That's great, Jacob, Cody. Thanks for being. It's great to be on here. I mean, it's awesome. It's an exciting time for Dodgers baseball. Just all my buddies, everybody. Even my mom texted me, getting excited for opening day here. Yeah, a terrific run at DB. We're stepping into this, this part here. I'm taking some time. It's just good to take a breath, and we're gonna enjoy this baseball season in a different light. But I will be on as many shows as you want me to be on, man. If there's free time, I'll hop on here, I'll hop on D, anywhere. I'm ready to be anywhere. But just exciting time to talk about baseball. Like this excitement for this season of Dodgers baseball. We had it last year, yes, cultivated in a World Series title. But looking ahead towards this year, Cody, Jacob, there is as much to be excited about as towards the second half of this last year.
Yeah. And Jacob joining me as always, the co-host of the show now. The excitement is real. I think the excitement, you could argue, is even higher than it was last year. I know last year, after doing everything they did in the offseason, they kind of did that and even more this winter on, just after winning a World Series. Do you feel more excited for this upcoming year, for the chance for them to go back to back for the first time in over like 20, 25 years? Or do you still think there was kind of more excitement last year?
Last year's tough to beat because you have Yamamoto and Ohtani coming in, but I am very excited for this year. The excitement's palpable. Everyone's talking about it. You have a World Series team, and then you go and spend however much money they just spent. So, obviously there's so much to be excited for. I'm not sure it can top seeing Ohtani in a Dodgers jersey for the first time, but I am incredibly excited to see this loaded team.
Yeah, and I definitely think, obviously, that excitement is reasonable, especially after the offseason they've done. Scott, just looking at, it's definitely been talked to death, especially now that we're ending spring training. Regular season's about to re-kick off again. I was kind of shocked for how aggressive they were in free agency this year, in the trade market, with the moves that they've made. It seems like they said, hey, if there's any chance that we can upgrade even marginally by signing top-tier talent, we're going to go do that. We're going to bring in a Blake Snell. We're going to bring in a Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. We're going to trade Gavin Lux because we just have a surplus of talent on our team right now. And if you look at Gavin Lux did Cincinnati Reds camp, I mean, I'm pulling for the guy. He looked really good this spring. But are you just surprised that the Dodgers continue to just say, you know what, each year we're going to try to get better and we're going to try to beat what we did last year, and that's to win another title?
I would say so. And this the unique thing about this is, like, we know the Dodgers have the financial muscle to just do anything, but it just felt like there's no way, guys. There's no way that you win a World Series title in 2024. Ohtani comes, like Jacob said, Ohtani comes in, Yamamoto comes in, all the hype goes straight through to a World Series in incredible fashion. And would you expect a franchise like this to just have like a lame offseason where they just stand pat and say, We're good. We're going to do what they do always and improve on the margins, which is terrific. It's been an enormous success, and they go into the offseason. And as you could tell, opportunities presented themselves. Andrew Friedman said this was the A plan in each category. A lot of the time you might be able to, just like you said, you plug one A plan, that might work. Then you go, okay, let's go to the next year. You might get the C, D plan. You're fine with that. You're happy about it. A's across the board. We'll never see this again. We'll never see a front office be this aggressive again, dip this far into the free agency pool where your team already was. And it's just all these players were out there. How is Kirby Yates on the free agent market? We've been talking about a Curb for a while, Jacob, and he just fell into the lap. And this is a premier arm, one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball, and was just out there. So this is just something we will never see again. Was it surprising, Cody? It was from a standpoint that I can't believe it happened. Other teams let this happen, and their outrage is, you can point the mirror right at them. They all let this happen. They let this opportunity present itself to the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I was definitely I've argued that, and I was on an episode of the Baseball Banner broadcast the other day, and one of the reasons they said, well, how can the Dodgers do this? And I was like, I don't think they necessarily said, we're going to definitely push to do this. I think they read the room, they read the situation, they see the RSN deals failing across like a third of the league. They see a lot of these teams not wanting to go past the CBT threshold. You got teams like the Miami Marlins who are like couple $1 million, more than like tens of millions of dollars away if they don't reach it, having the MLB Players Association file a grievance against them. They're taking advantage of a market that just fell in their lap. They didn't ask for Mookie Betts to get traded. They didn't ask for the Braves to move on from Freddie Freeman. They didn't ask for Kirby Yates to stay a free agent until the final month of the offseason. Yeah. The Rangers could have just thrown him $17-18 million. He was arguably the second best reliever in baseball last year, right under Emmanuel Clase. The rest of the league is what allowed the Dodgers to do it. And if the Dodgers were just going to say, hey, well, that's a talented ball player, we have the money, we have the scenery, and we have the clubhouse, and we have the ambition of trying to build, a dynasty right here. What more could these players ask for? A lot of them will defer the salaries to come here and play here. That's just been years of buildup, and credit to Andrew Friedman. We've done it all off season. I know Jacob's been on it as well, where the Dodgers are just the marquee destination right now. And I don't see that ending anytime soon, especially with next year's free agent class. Look at Kyle Tucker. What's he want to do? Does he want to rejoin a winner? All these free agents, they're definitely going to be on the top of the Dodgers radar. Any other comments on that, Jacob, before we start moving on to, the more current situations following the Dodgers right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we talked about with Robbie Hyde about a month ago. The Dodgers have gotten where they are partially because of other teams making mistakes and not being willing to pay guys and give up superstars for not a lot. It's nothing, or now it's getting like, wow, these guys are insane. They'll just spend money and put money into it no matter what. But at first it was making these deals that winning on the margin, signing those relievers, flipping them. So it really is good to see. And then even things like extending a guy like Tommy Edman this offseason. I know you were happy about that, Scott, but that's something they didn't have to do, but that's a winning ball player that they want to keep around. So just things like that. It's hard to not love what they're doing.
Yeah, so obviously we spent enough time on the offseason. Spring training was awesome. The Tokyo series was exciting. The 2-game sweep there, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show. But let's go with kind of the more serious matter, I guess. A little bit of it got downplayed because Mookie Betts did appear in a game last night, took his 3 at-bats, played some defensive innings. But Scott, I'll lead you off with this. You see the headlines, you see the storyline following him. He's kind of been MIA for 2 weeks. I know people were in my mentions saying, hey, especially in the final 2 or 3 games of Cactus League play, they were like, where's Mookie Betts? This is a guy that was playing like every game trying to get ready for shortstop. Yeah. Now we found out why. He had some sort of virus, stomach bug. Nobody could really figure it out. People have made their own conspiracy theories online. They're kind of funny to read, especially in hindsight now. But at the end of the day, he lost around 25 pounds. In a short time. The Dodgers pressed on. Mookie Betts pressed on, wanted to still get work in, wanted to still playing games. He's set to play in a simulated game, I believe, today. After how he feels, he could potentially play an opening day. what is your concern? Are you concerned at all, especially not just for opening week, but to lose that much weight, for the first month of the season, missed as many at bats as he did, defensive innings. What is your concern level for Mookie Betts and the Dodgers right now?
I'm gonna say, like, if you're just asking me if am I concerned, I have to. This was a nuanced question. Me and my buddy debated a lot earlier today before I, knew we were gonna go here. But I think I'm around like a 5, and that's just generally because I'm not concerned about him getting up to speed with the bat, with the glove, with the eyes. It's more the eyes. It's the game speed, and that's something you have to always be aware of and give yourself some time. That's why they take these reps, and I'm sure that's why they're doing this today. Mookie, get in there, get your eyes set to go. Mookie Betts has said that he feels he feels good. He feels good, ready to go, whether that's, baseball players speak and just wants to downplay any negative surrounding it. He's going to do whatever he can to get himself ready. As far as elite production, it's fair to say, let's give him some time. I'm about a 5 out of 10. I believe that when you lose 20 pounds in such a short period of time, there's going to be a curve that you have to just be patient on. It's going to take him time to get that weight back, but he said he feels strong as ever. He said he feels like he's good to go there. Whatever it is, hopefully he turns his page, medication works out there. I'm not concerned about it like going too far into the season. I'm saying let's give him a couple weeks here, a month, get himself ready to go from a body standpoint, from a mental standpoint. If it's anything, I'm concerned about the mental standpoint of him being on the sideline so long and that frustration buildup, because Mookie Betts is an elite player in Major League Baseball. He knows he wants to be the best. He can be the best. He can be one of the best in the game. And not being out there probably killed him. Probably killed him from, just an approach standpoint going into a season, because he's a routine-based guy. So I'm a 5 out of 10. I'm not too concerned from a health standpoint. Just give him some time.
And before I ask you the same question, shout out to Laura. Scott, I said you have some fans. They gave us a $1.99 super chat because you're with us tonight. So we definitely appreciate that. And I do agree with you there, Scott, where Mookie Betts did say he feels physically fine. It was just the stomach thing. He was very adamant about that to the media, who were very much pressing him about the entire situation. He said, look, I'm fine. I'm honestly the strongest I've ever felt this offseason. I mean, he's probably lean. He was already a lean cut guy. Now he dropped another 20 pounds. I mean, he's probably like DK Metcalf type of body fat percentage right now. So I am confident in him. But Jacob, we saw the storylines. Are you concerned, like a little bit like Scott, where maybe the production, elite production, may not be there the first month, but the Dodgers really don't have anything to worry about because they were without him for 2.5 months last year. So, and if they can have him in the lineup, even half the potential, I mean, the Dodgers should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, Scott pretty much nailed it. I think we need to make sure we're not reading too far into maybe the next month or something like that. It's hard to lose 25 pounds and still have 30, 35 home run power. So I wouldn't expect him to be necessarily the same power hitter. Now, who knows? He's Mookie Betts. He's a freak athlete. He might come out and hit 2 homers on opening day. That's very possible. But I would agree it's like a 5. Obviously, you hear someone lose 20, 25 pounds, even 10 pounds in that little time. You're like, that's concerning. But I don't think it's like a long-term concern. It seems like he's turning the corner, which is good, obviously. Hopefully he continues to heal and gets back to the player that he is. And I have no doubt that that's going to happen.
Yeah. And Scott, I'll even continue with bets on this because we had our, Dodgers Beat staff preview today for the season. And I was kind of going with, what are some bold takes that the guys could have had. And one of them was very much on with Mookie Betts, where he said, by season's end, he's going to be back in right field. The shortstop experiment is definitely, draining on some people. It is a high debate amongst, the media, Dodger fans, anybody around baseball. They're like, can this guy move to shortstop, play at an above average to an elite level in his 30s? Are you concerned at all with him playing shortstop? I know he's looked really good there this spring. I've written about that. I've posted about that on social media as well. And I have the utmost confidence in him. But do you think the Dodgers could potentially make a switch at some point this year like they did last year? Or do you think, 2025 is the year of shortstop Mookie Betts?
I mean, we all thought that it was going to be Tommy Edman. I think that we thought it was going to be Tommy Edman right when they, before the extension. I would say, going into 2025, Tommy Edman can fill the shortstop spot. I remember having that conversation on several shows where it's like you can put Tommy Edman there. You know what you're getting. He's a very athletic guy. He's going to make all the plays. Sure, he's going to make some mistakes. Every shortstop does. He's not an elite defensive player. He's good. He can make some flashy stuff. We thought it was that. And then confidence in Mookie Betts for an entire offseason. I've tweeted about it a bunch. Jacob and I have had conversations that we believe that Mookie Betts would work his butt off to get himself up to speed at the shortstops. We knew it was all about the angles. I had no problem with him playing the position. It was just about the throws. It was the throwing angles that were the biggest thing. You look back at his errors in 2024, I would say the majority of them are all throws. It wasn't booting the ball, anything like that. It was just the throws. So
it was all.
I believe
it was eight of his 9 errors were all throwing. Yep.
Yeah. So I believe that he's on track to do that. If Mookie Betts, what just to double back there, Cody, you said that the prediction was that Mookie Betts gets slide back to right field.
Yeah, so that was one of our writers, Max. He put that on there as his bold prediction, where the Dodgers just inevitably make the switch. Maybe they trade for a shortstop. Maybe Miguel Rojas, they want a more defensive, sure thing there. And maybe an Alex Friedland lights up the world in AAA, and the Dodgers are just forced to call him up. He just thinks maybe Mookie Betts makes more sense in right. I don't see it on the trajectory for the plans, but we saw what happened last year. He gets injured, and they make plans. They make a switch on the fly. I mean, they kind of went back and forth. Dave Roberts said, no, he will be our shortstop. And then almost a day or two later, he said, no, he's going to be our right fielder. We're going to let Miggy Rowe play the rest of the year. So I'm curious to just see what the Dodgers do this year with it. But I think Betts is more than likely to stay there all season.
Yeah. I would say so. Too. And I think you guys both agreed that Mookie Betts playing at shortstop, this could be an entire season thing, and I'd be fine setting it and forgetting it. I was okay with it last year before, the plans came out, Tommy Edman and getting Max Muncy back, kind of things solidified and it works out. I'm okay with Mookie Betts playing shortstop. I've been out there saying I believe that he's going to be a front runner for Gold Glove. That's a MVP candidate with his offensive production, playing at shortstop, having to handle that with his bat. That's an MVP candidate where how much offense is valued at the shortstop position. So get him up to speed. I love what Jacob said, that Mookie Betts would do some stuff. He'll go out on opening night, opening weekend, and have, 2-homer game in there, have 3 home runs in a weekend, and just, we're like, that's Mookie Betts. He's a superhuman type of guy. Shortstop wise, I think he could stay there the rest of the season. A lot of it has to do with Ha-Seong Kim. Like, where's he at? Give a couple months. Is he going to get up to speed? But they've got options. You've got Tommy Edman who can play short, Miguel Rojas who can play short. I think Mookie Betts gets the bulk of it. But ultimately, long-term, guys, I think second base is the spot for Mookie Betts. But for the now, you remedy it with the shortstop spot, 50 there, I'm good. I was fine not paying a shortstop. I was dabbling into the Willy Adames stuff, and I think that was, people got kind of on us for it. But I was good. I was good with, holding off on that front and giving the reins to 50 at shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, the Willy Adames thing, that seemed like there was a rumor that was connected to the Dodgers for 3 seasons. When he was with the Rays, there was the smoke there, the Andrew Friedman connection. Then he gets traded to Milwaukee, and they're always trying to get rid of players before their walk years. And then, he ends up testing free agency. Then you got more rumors. Hey, the Dodgers technically have a hole at shortstop, but then they went with, Mookie Betts being put in there as well. Jacob, kind of just touch on and end on it here. I know you've been confident with Mookie Betts at shortstop, but then add in the extra layer of now he's kind of lost weight. We don't know how fatigued he's been, where his body's at, his feeling. He could tell us one thing like people in the comments are saying, but he could feel another. I mean, he's an athlete, he could be putting on an act in front of the cameras right then and there. But I think the works looked fine, but are you expecting Mookie Betts to play a full season at short?
I am, yeah. I agree with Scott. Again, we're in lockstep here. I think we've talked about it. You and I have talked about it, Cody. The arm slot at shortstop is so different in the outfield, and that's part of the reason he struggled so much, is because those throws are just tough to make with no practice. Full off season to prepare for that. I think he'll be excellent defensively. I'm a little concerned right now with the weight loss and the wear and tear of the position, but that wear and tear is more long building over the course of a season. I think he'll get his weight all sorted out, get back. And again, like I said, I'm never going to bet against Mookie Betts. And honestly, right now, there's not like a clear better option at shortstop. So I think it's his spot to lose.
Yeah, I think the way the infield's constructed right now, I like Edman this year at second base. That was something that I've argued, going back to the middle of winter where I was like, well, if you really want Edman in his best spot, it's probably the Gold Glove award-winning position he played. Kind of helps the entire infield defense out altogether. Freddie Freeman, he's got all of his injuries that he's been dealing with. Mookie Betts, we don't know the defensive question marks there. He can help him up out the middle. And then you got Max Muncy, who's been a work in progress year in and year out at third base, average over there, which I guess is what all the Dodgers need. But I also do agree with Scott. I think second base is probably the play for Mookie Betts next year. I feel like if they can replace him at short, because he's not going to play into his mid-30s at shortstop. It rarely happens. He's not on the Derek Jeter trajectory where he's going to play shortstop his whole career, even though the defensive metrics were definitely going down in the tail end of his career there in the Bronx. But it'll definitely be something to watch in the future. But I think this year it is the season of Mookie Betts at shortstop. And kind of moving forward here, we got the Detroit Tigers coming for the home opener, 3-game series against them. They surprised a lot of people last year. They were fire sale at the deadline. They gave us Jack Flaherty, and they ended up, going on a Cinderella story there in the second half of the season, getting a wild card, defeating the Houston Astros, and then coming very close to beating the Cleveland Guardians, but falling in 5 games in the ALDS. They are the team that the Dodgers will welcome in the first home opener series of the year, Scott. A lot of stuff's going on at Dodger Stadium. They got the home opener tomorrow. They got the ring ceremony, the banner ceremony. Exciting time to be a Dodger fan and a Dodger player to experience all this stuff, because when they did it in 2021, they still had the COVID restrictions, a limited capacity crowd. Some of the key players, they weren't there. Most of the roster is kind of intact from last year's postseason win. But what is your excitement level for these games here this weekend?
10 out of 10. You're cooking, Cody, with that prep there. I remember watching that ring ceremony, and I was just like, this place would be jumping if it was everybody, fans in the jumping. So I'm excited for it. Like, I cannot wait for that. Like, I'm big on, hearing the crowd noise, feeling the crowd noise. That's something that production teams do an incredible job on TV. When you're in person, it's unmatched. But I'm very excited from a standpoint that game 1, we get to watch Tarek Skubal, and Jacob, I'm going to have to let him cook on this here. Watching Tarek Skubal, Blake Snell, who in his last 80 and a third innings last year was one of the best pitchers we'll ever see last season. And he joins the Dodgers, and we get to see a matchup of lefties that I'm going to be glued. Like, I'll watch that game back a second time. I hope it's a pitcher's duel. I hope we go off, but I love good pitching. Skubal's and electric. Blake Snell is just strikeout master. I really want to see a good matchup there. And then just generally getting that ring ceremony kicked off, feeling that electricity through the first few innings there. And hopefully they come out, dominant.
Do you like how they did it in 2 different days? Usually they would do the ring ceremony, banner, all that stuff on the first game of the season. It seems like the Dodgers said, we're going to continue the celebration throughout the weekend. We're going to do the home opener traditionally. Then we'll do the banner and ring ceremony in game 2. Do you like that? If you're a ticket holder that's like, hey, I bought opening day, I want to see them get their rings, wear the gold. I think they're going to wear the gold unis the entire series, but to feel everything in that opening day environment. Or are you okay with them saying, we'll do one thing one day, one thing another day. We'll get multiple fans a different experience each day.
100%. Just like how they did the parade. They did, the whole parade. Then you end it at the stadium and do everything there. As much celebration of a World Series as you can. The Dodgers have been very appreciative of their fans. They're very aware. They're very aware of the fan, support for this Los Angeles Dodgers team. And I love that it's not spreading it out to milk it. They're not doing anything to overly do it. They're doing enough. They're doing enough. The fans have supported this team through the worst of years. And now you're at just like they said, the golden era of Dodgers baseball. And I'm glad that they're doing every single thing they can to honor the fans, give back to the fans, put the best product out there. So let them celebrate. I love it. I'm happy about it.
I completely agree.
Yeah, Jacob, you're the pitching enthusiast here. This game one matchup, it's kind of being hyped around. I know David Vassay is extremely hyped because his guy Blake Snell's on the mound for the
Yeah.
Dodgers, but kind of seeing a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, winning one in the American League, winning one in the National League. You know, the Dodgers have had their fair share of meetings with Blake Snell, so they obviously know what he brings to the table, can kind of be that new left-handed ace for the next 5 years, something that the Dodgers have desperately needed, especially with Kershaw battling his health injuries the past couple of years. But then you go up against Skubal in that game where two postseason teams, two teams that, you know, a lot of people, you know, Dodger Stadium's the home crowd there. They got their fans nationwide, but the Tigers are kind of, you know, that team that everyone kind of roots for. They're like, hey, they've been awful the past couple of years. Let's root for them to go through. That's who I was rooting for last year in October. I was like, hell, fuck it. Let's have the Detroit Tigers make it to the American League pennant. So
Trey Sweeney, yeah.
This whole thing for this series, it's exciting for a Dodgers fan because we know what's at stake right now. But just all the festivities, are you excited to watch these games? Are your eyes going to be glued, especially that opening day matchup?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I get out of a business calculus exam 10 minutes before first pitch tomorrow, so I'm not thrilled about that. But like Scott was saying, I like it being on 2 different days because opening day is a big deal within itself, and then you have another big deal the next day. That's just more celebration time, more time to get those ultras and Bud Lights down at the stadium and just have an absolute blast. So I'm all good with that. The pitching matchup, you got 2 of the best lefties in the sport, guys who have won Cy Youngs. If there was one player in Major League Baseball I could take from another team and put on the Dodgers, I think it would be Skubal. I'm probably taking him over Skeens just because I have a thing for left-handed pitchers. But, I mean, it's a battle of stuff. It's going to be so much fun. I expect tomorrow to be pretty low scoring because Skubal and Snell are just absolutely disgusting. And then you follow Snell with the best bullpen in baseball too. So runs are going to be tough to come by, but just this whole series, getting to see Yamamoto and Sasaki, kind of the future of the rotation, plus this new veteran that they're bringing in, it's going to be so fun. I can't wait for all this to start.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at the Cubs series. I know it was last week. The Dodgers and the Cubs were kind of still in spring training mode. So they're kind of like hybrid, you know, regular season exhibition games. They still count, but they kind of don't count, but they do count. Well, now they return home. The Dodgers, for lack of a better term, kind of slapped around the Chicago Cubs, and that was without Mookie Betts, without Freddie Freeman. They had the good starting pitching from Yamamoto. Sasaki, who wasn't sharp, was efficient enough to go through 3 innings, allowing just 1 run. I'm assuming he's going to have a much better outing, especially against a Tigers team who's not really known much for their offense. It's really pitching or bust for them, especially their bullpen. But Scott, you know, looking at the Tigers coming in here, they were a playoff team last year, but the Dodgers, you know, they already got 2 wins under their belt. They're going up at against 3 straight lefties to start the season. They got, you know, Imanaga in game 1, game 2 was Steele, and then now game 3 they're going against Skubal. I'm assuming Jack Flaherty's probably going to get the pill in game 2, even though the Tigers haven't officially announced anything yet. But what are you expecting from this first series? Do you think the Dodgers are going to kind of get out to the races? Are they going to pick up where they left off in Tokyo and get off? Or are they going to have some issues against Skubal, especially in that first game?
I mean, you know, it's hard to say they're going to have an immediate handle on Tarek Skubal. That's just a really tough ask. The Dodgers are well equipped now to face left-handed pitching. They were the best team overall against left-handed pitching in 2024. And that's something we haven't been able to say in a really long time. Usually it was very skewed. It was like, let's, you know, beat the hell out of right-handed pitching. And then against lefties, let's scratch and claw, get to the bullpen and just go to work. Against left-handed pitching as a whole last year, the Dodgers were number 1. Andy Pages was an incredible piece against left-handed pitching. Tommy Edmonds splits against lefties are well documented. We'll get into that, you know, once, you know, my bold predictions, just hint. But I think that the Dodgers, I'm not going to say struggle against Skubal because I'm excited to see how aggressive he is against this Dodgers lineup. He's an alpha, plain and simple. I don't believe he's going to shy away from them. He's going to go right after the Dodgers. Can they hit his stuff? Can they do it, Jacob? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough because his stuff is just so good and he's just so aggressive. He knows it's good. He's not going to shy away. I think the Dodgers, they have their best bet against lefties, but they're going against the best lefty in the sport. So I think that they're going to have, a tough task in the domestic opener. Low scoring is all I can say. Hopefully they run into one.
Are these the two best lefty pitchers in baseball right
so.
now?
I'd say
Probably.
so.
It's a good
I'd
argument to make.
So.
That is electric.
It's marquee. Yeah. This is ESPN marquee game. Like, this is you sit down to watch every pitch.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really good low scoring game. I mean, if I'm going to pick one game for the Dodgers to lose, I could say it's this one. The Tigers have a really good bullpen. They kind of played small ball last year, just get 1 or 2 runs in a school bowl start, and that could be enough. But maybe the Dodgers offense is just kind of unbreakable. The trio at the top, the depth in the bottom. I mean, Andy Paz in there, he destroyed left-handed pitching last year. I don't expect that to change in year 2. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how this goes. And then immediately after this series, 3 games against the Tigers, they welcome the Atlanta Braves, who they themselves are kind of off a rough stretch to begin the season. They go in San Diego, and then they come immediately to Dodger Stadium. They will face the likes of Dustin May and Tyler Glasnow. Jacob, we saw both of those guys appear in the Angels exhibition series. Tyler Glasnow, chef's kiss, 9 Ks in 5 innings. Dustin May, 6 Ks. He looked really good yesterday as well. Getting these 2 guys back in the rotation, you're the pitching enthusiast. It just makes the Dodgers pitching staff so much better, especially if they're healthy. We'll see what they do in April, but can they do it in May, June, July, August, down the stretch in October? But how exciting is it, Jacob, to see these 2 guys return to form? I mean, Tyler Glasnow looks better than I would say he even looked at the beginning of last year.
Yeah. I mean, health is going to be the storyline all year. The conversation's going to continue to be, can they get these guys healthy throughout the season? But it's got to be exciting. Glasnow's now incorporating that sinker a lot more. I know he threw it a bunch against the Angels. I wasn't able to watch, but I saw a couple front door strikeouts on sinkers. That's just unfair with the two pitches he has going the other way, and then his fastball also has some natural cut to it. So then you pair a sinker off that. That's just not fair to hit. And Dustin May, obviously he's coming off a couple freak injuries and the esophagus thing. He's lost a little velocity, but his sinker is, I don't care about the stuff grades on it. It's as good as it's been. It's moving more both vertically and horizontally than it was, or it has at times during spring training. The command is still a little shaky. The secondaries, besides the sweeper curve, whatever you want to call it, you would like to see more in. But, again, he's coming off another arm injury, a lot of time off. I think he's going to be amazing this year. Getting these guys back, it's so awesome. And these are 4th and 5th starters. Then Ohtani comes back and you have him there. And then you've got Bobby Miller down at AAA. The stuff is just 1 to 12 disgusting. Let's not forget Landon Knack with a new changeup. That's absolutely disgusting too. So, they're going to keep coming, and it's just so fun. Yeah.
Scott, you look at the Dodgers rotation right now. Last year, Tyler Glasnow, opening day starter in Korea, domestic opening day starter in the States. Now he's the Dodgers' 4th starter. They gave him that massive extension that could have been a 1 or 2 on probably 29 other ball clubs. You see, you're an opposing team. You see on the other dugout, the lineup card, Tyler Glasnow's their 4th, Dustin May's their 5th. They got Tony Gonsolin waiting in the wings. Clayton Kershaw is trying to get healthy. But you see the 2 guys that we've mentioned that we saw, in this Angels series, they looked really good. The velocity for Dustin May, I'll take it at 97 miles per hour if he can stay healthy for an extended period of time. And then Glasnow incorporating that, that sinker 2-seamer pitch, looking excellent on the mound. He said he wants that, he set a career high in innings and starts last year. It's only up from here. He has to continue building off it. How good is it for the Dodgers to have those 2 back, especially the plethora of other guys that are going to get ready to come back and rejoin the team throughout the summer?
Length, man. I mean, it's every year. It's when you look at the end of a regular season, how many arms can you get healthy? Can you keep healthy? It's when you go into a postseason series. The Dodgers in 2023 just ran out of gas. They ran out of arms, and we saw it a mile away. Yeah, it's just that's flat out how it was. And this last year, how many? I don't know if we were in contact at the time, but when Yamamoto got hurt, the level of confidence there, I had to believe it to see it, like to see it to believe it, that he was going to get on a mound and pitch because of how that massive contract he got. Were they going to push him? I didn't think so. He had to be good to go. They had to believe it, and things all aligned. And we saw how it went. You had enough pitching. You had enough starters. You had Flaherty who provide. I know you had some blow up starts, but it mattered. It mattered. You had him go out there, provide some big outings amidst a couple blowups. It's just how it goes. And then you had Yamamoto come in and shove. And this is without guys. This is without arms like Gavin Stone, who got hurt, who anchored it. So with Tyler Glass now as a number 4, opposing teams better just do their scouting. You better be ready to chip away. You better be ready to be prepared and just do your homework, because you don't get a day off. You don't get a 5th starter that's just an innings eater. That's just not how it works anymore with this Los Angeles Dodgers team. But if you project towards the end of the year, how many are they going to get healthy? How many are going to keep healthy? Are they? A question I want to ask the both of you is: do we see some throttling of some innings here? Once these guys get healthy, do we see that 6-man come into play that we thought was going to be a thing? How early do they go to that to preserve some innings here? And I think that's the question I'll be monitoring, for myself pretty closely all year.
Yeah, me and Jacob have definitely said 6-man rotation definitely makes sense. The Dodgers have kind of either slightly confirmed it or have alluded to it, where especially when Ohtani comes back, which who even knows when that's going to be. They said that's what they would like to do as a 6-man rotation. You allow Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto, and Ohtani himself to get one day through the week and then rotate. April, they have a lot of off days, so they didn't even really need to do a 6-man rotation regardless.
Yeah.
But then you look at the dog days of summer where you're playing multiple games in a row, road trips, the humidity, playing in the Midwest or the southern Florida, all that stuff. It's going to wane on these guys. And I think the Dodgers are definitely going to take a methodical approach, saying, hey, let's just go 4 or 5 innings, give you an extra extended period of rest that arm up, get ready. We don't need Tyler Glass now going 7, 8 innings anymore in a game, maybe down the stretch in October. That's awesome. We'll take it then. And that even goes with Ohtani himself. When did the Dodgers even want Ohtani to come back? There's an argument to be made that the Dodgers could just say, hey, get yourself built up till late July. We'll take you then after the trade deadline. We'll see what the rotation looks like. Maybe we have to trade some of these arms if they're all healthy, which I don't think they will be. So they're probably going to keep a lot of these guys around. But do the Dodgers wait? Do they wait for Ohtani because they want him in October? Let him get built up slowly, progressively. Wait for Kershaw to come back, see what he gives you. Dodgers have a lot of questions in that rotation. And that's kind of been my biggest problem or fear with them, is like, what is this rotation going to look like? On paper, it's a super rotation. It's arguably the best in baseball, better than the Seattle Mariners, deeper than the Philadelphia Phillies. But can they prove that? Because last season, despite the efforts that they made, they weren't a really good starting staff. They were bottom third of the league in, innings pitched, ERA, FIP, all the advanced metrics. They didn't look good. Their best starter, Gavin Stone, was a rookie, had the most starts and the most innings. He's not going to be there at all this year. Tyler Glasnow ended up getting another season-ending injury, which the Dodgers didn't expect to happen. But Jacob, there's a lot to like about this rotation, but what do you see them doing with all these arms, especially throughout the season? I feel like that's going to be the big thing to watch from now and until October starts.
Yeah, I mean, at some point they're going to go to a guy like Tyler Glasnow and say, "Hey, Tyler, let's skip a start. We have Bobby Miller down at AAA who can go. We have Landon Knack down there. We have the best rotation or the best bullpen in baseball if we want to do a bullpen game with our guy Ben Kasparius eating some innings there as well. They have so many options. They're going to be selective. They're going to find ways to give guys an extra couple days off, or even maybe a phantom IL. I know that's MLB's cracking down on it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Someone's going to have like some sort of forearm stiffness or
The
general.
Dodgers pitchers may actually have these injuries. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's why they haven't
Yeah.
gotten caught
fair.
yet.
Yeah, I do remember last year, every time someone hit the IL, it was like people were saying, "Oh, they're just phantom ILing," and then it was a torn labrum or
It's
something.
real.
So it's going to be hard to tell, but they're going to be cautious. I think guys like Blake Snell aren't going to want to be cautious.
Mhm.
He's been talking about it. He wants to be the innings eater. He
Yeah.
wants to give you bulk this year. But guys like Otani, Sasaki, they're gonna get those extra days. Glasnow May, they're gonna find a way to give them some rest, and they have so much depth that. Again, if I say the name Landon Knack, you're not thinking like ace of the rotation, but he's going to come up and make some starts. He's going to work in relief. That's not bad at all. So they're going to do what they can to make sure this team is healthy in October. Will it work?
Mhm.
Who knows? It hasn't worked recently, but I hope they figure it out.
Before you go on, Jacob, have to both of you can answer this. The exposure that Landon Knack got in the postseason, whether it was good or bad,
Yeah.
being on that stage and seeing how your stuff is, and then heading into an offseason with some question marks for yourself, like he's a guy. Like I talked about that he could be someone down the stretch, and he was good, and you know, for whatever it was, the stuff looks good, exposure matters for him. This is a kid that if he comes up, I'm pegging him to be given quality innings. And he's you say that to just someone who's just tuning into a Dodgers game. They don't know who the heck he is.
No.
And this is someone who can just slot in. He'd be Jacob, what's the highest you'd put Landon Knack in just the most random rotation around Major League Baseball, just with the stuff?
I mean, he has the stuff to be like a number 2, number 3. I would say in most rotations in baseball. I do kind of want to touch on what you just said because I actually reached out to him and talked to him about his new changeup a little bit. He said he actually debuted it for the first time in the World Series last year. No one really noticed it, but like you were talking about that exposure, he was going out there throwing a brand new changeup on the biggest baseball stage possible. So yeah, I think that's going to go a long way for him. He had a whole offseason to change it. And I do believe that pitch can like entirely change him as a pitcher. Because his fastball is low velocity, but it's like one of those Alex Vesia's fastball. The ride on it is insane. His slider's good. I'm so excited for the steps I believe he's going to take this year.
Yeah.
And I know I'm like nerding out stuff, but there's so much stuff on the Dodgers. It's just
Matters.
not to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, if the way I look at it, it's two guys that we've all been high on, especially this offseason. Two guys that kind of got their experience and the taste of not only regular season baseball on a contending team, but the postseason and the World Series environment. Ben Kasparius, Landon Knack. They got the taste. They want to stay on this roster. They each made significant improvements this winter. I want to know how they did it, what they went about it. You know, Kasparius is throwing harder than he's ever had in his entire career, collegiate and minor league and professional career. Landon Knack, you know, making changes to his pitching repertoire, trying to get that changeup to not be as flat as it was last year because he doesn't have the velocity that's really going to blow it by big league hitters. You know, he hovers around the mid 90s, 93, 94, 95 miles per hour. That's really not going to get it around too much in today's game where the league average, it seems like, is 96, 97, 98 miles per hour. But he gets it done in a different ways. And I agree with Jacob for him to have the balls to say, let me just debut a new pitch in the World Series at the biggest stage. I mean, that takes some guts, man. And these are big league players. These are athletes. They have the Dodger way. They're going to try to make adjustments because at the end of the day, that's the other thing with this roster. They're all competing for whoever's going to be on that 26-man postseason roster. Every single one of these guys, doesn't matter how much they're getting paid. They're getting paid regardless. It's about who's the best players come October. Not only just who's the healthiest at the time, but who's the best of the best. It's going to help us in the long run. And each player on this roster is going to be competing for that. Obviously, the All-Stars and the MVPs, they're guaranteed. But the pitchers, you know, can Kasparius, you know, pitch a really good season and earn a spot, not only to make the opening day roster, which we all think he definitely probably is, but can he do it for a full 162 and make that postseason roster, be that, you know, that pitcher that we know he can be? And then Bobby Miller, does he get a shot? Justin Robleski, does he come up? Jackson Ferris is getting name dropped in our chat right now as well. This is another guy. He looked really good against the Angels the other night. One high fastball that he left over the plate got, tattooed. But other than that, he's got a good slider. He's got a good fastball. He's kind of one of those prospects that's in like their mid-20s that should probably be on a big league club by now. Who knows? Maybe the Dodgers give him a shot this season. I think that's just the thing with the Dodgers is they have so much pitching this year compared to years past where, Scott, you mentioned 23. They just ran out of gas. They ran out of pitchers. They had another off the field incident with one of their pitchers that seemed like that's something that plagued them for the past couple of years in the 2020s. And Kershaw, being the leader on there, pitching through his injuries, didn't really have anybody else after that. Him and Bobby Miller, once
you got Lance Lynn making a playoff start. Cody, man.
Lance Lynn died our sins to get to this point. But I mean, the Dodgers have come a long way. I mean, that's about the best way you could say it. If you look at the 2023 roster, I think MLB Network or someone posted, they were like, oh, look at the Dodgers lineup in 23 to what it looks like now. And they're like, how the hell did this team win 100 games that year? Like what did they have to do to win 100 games?
It was like 2018. You look at 2018, that was Matt Kemp. First half, Matt Kemp carried them, and that propelled them to the playoffs. It's these things, man. It's come so far. This is the juggernaut. This is everything lining up all at the same time. Prospect. It's just, you have Ben Kasperius being one of the best pitchers in spring training stuff. And he's just so many people, he's just a guy, but he is just a high quality arm that any team would love to have. This Dodgers franchise has just built something that I'm more excited now than I've ever been before. And Cody, Jacob, I can't be more excited with where they're currently at with everything, pitching standpoint for sure.
Now let's pivot to the crystal ball time, which is what everyone loves. The predictions, all around the league, everyone's making their picks now. For the Dodgers themselves, obviously we know the overall expectation. It's for them to at least win another World Series or at least appear in a World Series. Obviously, the way things went this winter, the people they added, the expectations it seems like they get higher and higher each year. And now I would say the target on the Dodgers' back is larger than it's ever been in the past 10, 15 years. That's even with them, spending millions of dollars in seasons past, like bringing in Zach Greinke, making trades for, Josh Beckett, all those guys at the beginning of the Guggenheim era. But, Scott,
man, what a pull.
what is the overall expectation for this club this year? Do you think they realistically it's a World Series or bust attitude, or is that unfair to put in the sport of baseball, which kind of has more parity than any other league in U.S. sports?
It has to be World Series or bust stuff. There's no anything less. It's not you could say it's a failure. When you don't win at all, it's a failure. No matter how you dice it. For a rebuilding team, you could say we were just there. But for a team that is primed to contend against anybody, when you match them up against anyone, it is World Series or bust. Are you going to ask me in a few minutes about the win total, or I could just give that to you right now, what I think?
You can just go ahead and shoot me that win total, buddy.
I think they're winning 109 games. I think they coast to a National League West title. Don't ask me who finishes second and third. That's a different conversation. I think they coast to a National League West title. And it's the same thing where we look around the league like we did last year going into the playoffs. Who in the American League stacks up against the Dodgers? Who in the National League has the depth, the pedigree, and just the overall drive to just be unrelenting in their goal of winning a World Series? You know what I mean? Like, take a look. I know it's barren on the American League side. So you get there, it feels like the National League or bust. You get there, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob, they're poised to break out for a lot of wins. I mean, we've been fortunate, all of us, especially in this era of Dodger baseball, where the regular season, they kind of just shoot out 100 wins. They win 111 a couple years ago. They get to the century mark in 23, despite a roster filled with, a lot of homegrown, league average type hitters. They were led by Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman MVP voting that year. So that's kind of what got them going. But the win total this year, I mean, we were talked about how are the Dodgers going to manage the pitching? How are they going to manage the injuries? How are they going to want to be healthy? is this a team that just seems like they're just going to walk into 100 wins regardless, just because of how deep the team is? And what is the overall expectation for the team this year in the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know where the Vegas lines sit right now, but I would probably take the over on all of them because
DraftKings, I checked this morning, it's 103 and a
I
half.
would take the over on that. Yeah, I mean, I think they win at least. Okay, I think they win 108 games. I don't want to say at least because that sounds a little ambitious. Maybe I think they win 108. Okay, at least I think they'll win at least 108 games. Like Scott said, it is World Series or bust. When you have the team they have, the reputation they have, you're coming off a World Series. It's World Series or bust. Anything besides a World Series is a failure. Like that's just how it is. You've got these guys who are getting older. You have Shohei Ohtani on a certain contract. You have Yoshinobu Yamamoto entering his prime with a lot of years to come. Like this is time. Anything besides a World Series, I completely agree is a bust. But you know, they're again exactly what you said. Get to the playoffs and just win that. I'll even say if they win the NLDS, they win the World Series. There's not a team in the NL that beats a healthy Dodgers team in a 7-game series. So there's definitely not one that beats from the AL that beats them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and I think the American League, Scott mentioned it, it's pretty bad. I mean, the Yankees, the defending American League champion, you could make an argument that they missed the playoffs entirely. Just the amount of injuries they've had, the losing Juan Soto. I mean, the entire American League and National League Central, you could argue as well, is kind of just mediocre. You get the default division winner playoff team that makes it every year, and then even the National League East with the amount of teams and the talent they have in there as well. Not many of them scare me too much. I mean, the Phillies pitching and what their offense can do, that is scary. The Braves, if they're fully healthy, which a lot of people are betting their money on right now, including the Vegas odds, where they're projected to win the National League East. That could be a scary foe. The New York Mets, they have the offense, but they just don't have the pitching in my mind. But it really is the Dodgers World Series to lose. I think they've set themselves up to be the best positioned team to win back-to-back titles for the first time since 2000, since the New York Yankees won 3 straight in 98, 99, and the year 2000. The Dodgers, I mean, I don't know how many wins they'll really strive for. I know Miguel Rojas said about a month or two ago, like, oh yeah, 116 is the goal. I don't know if they're going to go that
The
sicko mode.
I think.
Yeah,
they expect to win that.
Yeah, he said that the expectation is 116.
116.
I think that's a little bold. I look at 2022, they won 111. It seemed like they won every day. There was a lot of times where I was like,
Yeah.
I don't even really need to turn on the TV because they're just going to win the game. It kind of took the fun out of it a little bit. They would beat around all these teams, but 116, I just can't even fathom that many wins. I do think they get over 103, which is that line right now. But someone mentioned it, say they coast to a division, maybe they start resting some of these guys in September. Like, hey, like we'll take an L here or there. We want you to be healthy, but I think 105, 106 is a good number. 108, I definitely could see. 111, if they want to tie it again, I mean, we'll see. But my thing is just be healthy. I just pray that they're healthy that time.
Put a pin right here in this because Matty Man's in the chat and he'll remember this. Laura probably does too. When we did a show like 2 months before the postseason last year, and I remember asking Blake Williams, shout out to the GOAT, love him, that is it a problem that the Dodgers aren't playing as many competitive games down the stretch? Was it a problem that they had nobody in the rear view to really push them? Would it be a problem that they just didn't have that fire, going in? And I think, I'm not saying that's going to happen because we'll revisit this at the deadline. We'll revisit it right there, how everything's shaken out. But I do believe you have to manufacture some pressure somewhere. If it's not in the standings, you have to have that. And I think it's important. I know these guys, they've unlocked something last year. They for sure did. We could just see it. You had to rally around a pitching, matchup for themselves that could have gone one way or another. That we know that's how it was. But they had the pedigree, just not the experience. So I think that we'll revisit it later on, but you definitely have to just keep that pressure on yourselves. And I think Dave Roberts and the rest of these veterans that been there, done that last year and in years prior. I think they've got the blueprint, guys. I think they've got the blueprint how to keep themselves locked in. So I think they can remedy and weather that storm.
Yeah, I think from a competitive aspect, from someone that's played sports, and seeing how they played last year, especially with competition from the Padres. I mean, the Dodgers didn't clinch the National League West until the final week of the season, and that's one of the latest I've seen them do it in this run of Dodger success over the last like 12 years. I think they are going to have competition. I don't think they could still steamroll to 105, 8 wins, what we're all predicting here. And they could still be looking at the D-backs in their rearview mirror. The D-backs, don't sleep on the D-backs, guys. They have a really good rotation. They technically were the best offense in baseball last year. They narrowly missed the playoffs. Corbin Carroll, look at his first half and second half splits. If he can do what he did in the second half for a full season, that's a dark horse MVP candidate right there. A guy who can steal bases, play good defense, hit for some power. The D-backs are a scary team, and I'm curious what the Dodgers' record is in Chase Stadium is, because I hate when the Dodgers go to play the Arizona Diamondbacks because it just seems like they always lose there. And it's a team that beat them in the postseason. That's the Diamondbacks pitchers. I forget who it was. They asked him like, "Are you scared of the Dodgers?" And he was like, "No, we can beat those guys." Obviously, everyone's going to say that, but I think they do believe that. Just like the Padres think they can beat the Dodgers. Maybe not in the regular season, but you get them for a short 5-game series. I mean, that's anybody's ball game right now. I think the Dodgers are going to have competition in their division. The Giants aren't no slouch. I'm not even going to mention the Rockies because we know what the Rockies are. Unfortunately, what they're doing, they'll be a little bit marginally better, but we know what we're going to expect with the Colorado faithful there. National League East, National League Central. Obviously, you got the trio with the Mets, Braves, Phillies. That they're all good. The Centrals, they got the Brewers, the Cubs. They've made improvements, but it really is the Dodgers National League to lose. It would really, like how Jacob said, Scott, it's the NLDS. If they get past the NLDS, there's really not many teams, if any team at all, has the depth, the rotation, the offense that can withstand a 7-game series against the Dodgers, whether it's the National League or the American League.
It's a barrage. It's a barrage on all fronts, and that's my main thing. The blueprint started to go out with what teams around the league stack up in all these areas. And I know this is paper baseball and you don't play that.
Yeah.
But just how the Dodgers attacked it, they were the word opportunistic, and I love it. They exploited a market efficiency this offseason, and they figured out how to get ahead of these other teams that are just going to sit back and maybe not spend the money. Let's dip in a little bit more. So you plug your holes with the best options you can when it lines up there. And it's a team that could have filled these spots with players in the org. Offensively, I'm not so sure. But from a pitching standpoint, they definitely could have. But they brought in as much talent as you can. And it's something that, like I said at the beginning of the show, we haven't seen it from this team. Just capitalize again and just double down. You see teams around the league that they win a World Series and they sometimes take a step back in free agency and not continue to load up. But this Dodgers team didn't do that. And I have no reason to not believe in the front office and their aggression at the deadline, that if there's a need, they're going to attack it once again because they have the prospects that, Jacob, you can go in all day talking about these prospects and how they've continued to bolster on that front. They didn't take a step back. They've brought in Zahir Hope. They've got Jackson Ferris ready to go. You've got so many players ready to go. And I just know for a fact that they're all, just like you and I are in lockstep. The front office is in lockstep.
Yep.
And they're going to attack a need when it's there. So let's chat at the deadline. But I know for a fact that they're all in everywhere.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers, they're like we've been kind of all banging on right now on this thread. They are more than equipped to be the first back-to-back champion that we've seen in over 20 years. So that's the big thing that's exciting about this season. It just seems like the Dodgers are up here. The rest of the league is kind of somewhere in the middle. I think the one team that'll give them the run for their money if they meet in October, it is the Phillies. I'm not just saying that because I'm here on the East Coast in Philadelphia. I do see their starting rotation. I do see how nasty it can be in October.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what it looked like in 22. I saw what it looked like in 23. That is a team that can scare me. An interdivisional rival in the first round always scares me, especially after seeing what the Padres did, in 22, the D-backs in 23, and then even the Padres last year, giving the Dodgers kind of a run for their money all the way until Game 5. So Dodgers are their own worst enemy when it comes to October baseball. We've seen it time and time again. Regular season, I'm not worried about. I know they're going to coast to a really good season again. Division title, probably the best record in baseball. That's what they're aiming for, and that's what I think they're going to end up getting. But October is where the real story begins. Quickly all over here. I mean, we got the awards and everything. Team MVP, not named Shohei Ohtani. We know if he's going to be pitching and hitting. We saw what he did last year. But who's a guy you think steps up, Scott, that, kind of picks up the team when they're down, is, playing multiple positions or filling in? Who's a guy that steps up for the Dodgers this year that we may not have seen last year or takes another step forward? Who's one guy in particular you're looking at on this roster?
Oh, I wasn't prepared for this one. You said bold predictions. Is this a different question? I can go
Well,
off.
bold prediction. Who's a guy that you're looking for this year?
Okay, here bold prediction. I'll give you. Okay, you asked someone who's going to pick them up when they're down. Then you went to offense, but I'm just going to say pick them up when they're down. Blake Snell. Blake Snell, I think he's got that. I know you said offense, but Blake Snell is going to be. He wants to be the workhorse. It's awesome to see a pitcher in their prime that is joining a new team, new contract, that doesn't just go ho hum. I got my money. Yeah, Laura, I see you in chat. We'll get to there. I think Blake Snell is going to pick them up when they're down. He's going to take the ball when he's asked, and he's going to be every bit as advertised. I'm stoked to see him on the mound. On the offensive end, I know he NLCS hero, Tommy Edman, but I'm gonna say that Tommy Edman has Jacob might flip out of his chair, a 2020 year, and he's going to be an all-star. Tommy Edman, 20 homers, steals 20 plus bags. He's an all-star. He wins a Silver Slugger at the utility spot. If it's not that, then he wins the Gold Glove as a utility man. Tommy Edman's my guy.
2022, he put up a 5.3 WAR season, playing a lot of second base. That number's like stuck in my brain. I'm completely. I agree. I'd say Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the pitcher that I like. I think he's going to be that guy. I think he also is going to pride himself on proving that he can be healthy a full season and give you those innings like he was doing before signing with the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know if we're doing bold predictions now. I'll just say it. I think Michael Conforto's an all-star. And I think the Dodgers have two of the top 4 Cy Young finalists, whatever. 2 of the top 4 in Cy Young votes in the NL. Those are the 2 those would be my hot takes. But I think Michael Conforto has a huge year.
I like the Conforto thing because, one, interestingly enough, Scott, when we were on a live or recording an episode early in the offseason, we were like, who makes a lot of sense? Michael Conforto. And then as soon as we hit the end, it happened. Like, immediately it broke. And I was like, okay, the same night. It was during the winter meetings, and we were like, no shit. How about that?
That's showbiz.
But I don't know. For bold predictions this year, I had an article in Dodgers Beat, I believe last month, where I kind of ran out 3 ideas. I'm going with the Mookie Betts Gold Glove finalist one, potentially winning. I think I'm buying into the aspect of him working with my childhood idol in Troy Tulowitzki. Working with him this offseason, getting some pointers. He looked really good this spring training with the throws, the movement. Betts is an all-around athlete. Like Scott said, give him an all offseason to work on it. He's going to try to prove everyone wrong. He has a goal set out. He said, I want to put some gold on this glove. He hasn't won a Gold Glove since 2022. He wants to continue adding to his mantle. Now he's at a position that a lot of people in the Dodgers media world, they're like, hey, no, this isn't going to work out. Why are you doing this? You're in your 30s. Like, this is when players start to go down statistically, whether it's offense, defense. Now he's got another, curveball thrown in there with the entire sickness thing, losing all that weight. How's he going to look out there? But I don't know. Some of the advanced metrics liked him there last year. Defensive run saved, being at shortstop, being in an elite position like that. It did look some positive ratings there. 8 of his 9 errors were throwing. He corrects that, which it looks like he has. I mean, we're looking at a more clean fielder, but I would say it is bold because there's a lot of good fielders in the National League, especially at shortstop. So it'll take a lot of decrease from a lot of those other guys out there. Another one I really like, I'm huge on Yamamoto this year. We saw two guys win the Triple Crown. And I think Yamamoto, if he can pitch for a full season, he can definitely be in that Triple Crown category. He has a really high strikeout rate. He's a guy that's going to give the Dodgers innings if that shoulder's holding up, which by all accounts, it looks like it. But could he be a guy? Could he be in the Cy Young race? I've been putting it out there, plus 2,000 in the betting odds to put him in there. Drop $100 on that, guys, because if he wins the Cy Young, you're going to be going home with a good reward after that. But I like the Mookie Betts Gold Glove comp. I feel like not many people have been really saying that, but I mean, hell, I won't bet against the guy, especially now, end of the season. I think we're all on the shortstop train. That's like one more thing to wrap up for his Hall of Fame worthy career.
Yeah. Touching on Yamamoto, since I'm the stuff guy, his stuff in spring training looked so good. Like improvements everywhere, not just throwing harder, but movement wise. He threw like a 94.3 mile per hour splitter with more depth and run, which is just disgusting. I completely agree. I think Yamamoto, he would be one of my bets for one of the two in the top four. I'm not gonna say the other one. Who knows? That could be like four guys, but I think Yamamoto is one of them.
Alrighty, yeah. So last thing here, kind of bit of a controversial topic. I'm not really going to go too in depth on it. Just kind of going over what the news is circulating out there right now. The Dodgers, if you like it or hate it, the Dodgers have accepted the White House invitation to go there. They begin that road trip in Washington, D.C. in April 7th to the 9th. They will be visiting the White House on the 7th. No major league team, I think, has ever declined the honor. Players in the past have. It is a controversial subject just because of everything going on in the world right now. But I'll even ask you guys, are you surprised at all that the Dodgers did accept the invitation? They did go there during 2021, during Joe Biden's term. Obviously, with Donald Trump in the White House right now, it's a very sensitive issue. But I would say, if you ask me personally, I'm not surprised that the Dodgers accepted the invitation because I don't think they were going to be the first team to say no and break that tradition. Could have been a big statement for them and their organization and definitely would have made headlines, but I just never expected the Dodgers to do that. But I think regardless of how you feel about it, I think it's a good trip. I think it's going to generate a lot of press, going to have a good experience, good or bad, for those players that are visiting. And it's just another thing about all this. They wouldn't be in this conversation if they didn't win the World Series last year. So I think it's one of those storylines you'd say, hey, it's just something that comes with winning the title. You get your rings, you have your ceremony, you go to the White House, you go to Disneyland, all that stuff. I'm not surprised that they're doing the visit there next month in about 2 weeks. So Jacob, overall thoughts on the White House trip? I mean, are you looking forward to what all the press and the headlines that you're going to see in the news cycle the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days on Twitter when they're in DC. I'll just say I'm not surprised. Again, every champion and all the sports get invited. They almost always go. I don't like have the list in front of me, but it's a cool thing to be able to go to the White House because that's something that comes with winning a championship. So no, I'm not surprised at all that they're going.
Yeah, and Scott, I don't really think it's a controversial thing to kind of say, I'm excited for the Dodgers to go and experience I'm a guy that's on the East Coast. I love going to Washington, D.C. and going sightseeing, all the museums, the Capitol Hill. I think the Dodgers are heading up that way as well. But visiting the White House, I just think is something that comes with being a world champion. And I think the Dodgers they were definitely going to take advantage of that and be in that environment. And it's another way for them to celebrate the title that they won last year on the biggest stage at our nation's capital. I don't really think there's much to look into it, but any just general thoughts from yourself?
I'm not surprised that they accepted the invitation. Just like you said, no teams declined. It's everybody's prerogative to be angry, happy, however you want to feel about it. And it's entirely in the team's right to accept it. It's kind of just the ceremonious honor that comes with winning a World Series.
Yeah.
You do it, whether you enjoy the experience, whether you don't as a player, that's up to them. I think anybody can feel however they want. That's just how it is. You're a professional sports franchise, the completing kind of the tour here of winning a title, going to the White House. It's kind of been a tradition. That's just how it goes. So I'm not surprised at all.
And
I think
there's not necessarily an obligation to go. The players, if they don't want to, we've seen that. Maybe teams haven't accepted, but like I know Mookie Betts in 2019 didn't go, I think. So it is still open for players to not go if they personally don't want to.
Yeah, and Scott, I'll bring back your guy Blake here. I think he put it perfectly on X. If you're someone out there that's frustrated and flustered about it, don't look at these athletes or these actors, superstars, and organizations and companies to have your political agenda, to speak for you. You speak for you. Don't look for what these organizations are going to do, because at the end of the day, they don't really care about your opinion. So forge your opinions, forge all that stuff on your own. The Dodgers were just going to do it because, like you said, Scott, it's just one of those checkbook things that's like, all right, do the parade, win the title, do the parade, have the banner, ring ceremony, all that stuff, visit Washington. And that's just where the Dodgers are on this ride. I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see all the opinion articles, all the storylines, especially. I should be there. I'm going to be there in DC regardless to watch the team for one of the games. If I'm there covering the team, I'm imagining it's going to be an exciting day as well. But I'm looking forward to the event there in DC. Like I said, I love going to Washington and watching them play there. It's a really nice stadium, really nice team. But yeah, there's really not much else to talk about it. I'm just excited that the Dodgers are getting ready for some regular season baseball tomorrow. I'm excited for it.
We made it. We made it, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, we did make it. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all we got in store for today. We went over a lot of stuff. But Scott, I got to thank you again. Thank you for coming on, man. It's always a great conversation, to hear you on your other platforms that you've been a part on, reading all your work. It's finally great to have a conversation, all three of us here today. For anyone that hasn't found you or hasn't seen you on Dodgerland, where can they find you, whether it's social media, how can they reach out to you, all that stuff?
I mean, you can reach out anybody who wants to, connect with me. You can reach out to me on Twitter. You can me your at Scott Gearman, just right there. I mean, hit me up on Instagram, same exact thing. Chat however you want. I'm always willing to chat ball, keep in touch with my life. Let's ride. We got some fun stuff coming up. I'm willing to be anywhere I want to be. I'll be back here if you want to chat ball. Jacob, same thing. We'll be in constant contact. It's a fun time. I love connecting with the fans, talking ball. Man, I can talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. I can be anywhere, but this is a fun time. You guys will agree with this. When you wake up and you look at the calendar and you got baseball that night, you got baseball that afternoon, something about it just feels good. And that's it changes things. Life's got that extra pep in the step when you see Dodgers baseball at the end of the day. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And we will have content for opening day tomorrow. I know our guy Roger will be there behind the scenes, getting us all the pregame, postgame, ceremony, all that stuff. It's going to be an exciting time for tomorrow, opening day. Hopefully, everybody that's going there, have a great time, stay safe, drink a lot of beer, continue to celebrate the Dodgers title one last time before they embark to try to repeat as champions. Other than that, we had a lot of coverage from Japan, the Tokyo series. We got the Japanese version of the podcast. We got the Spanish version. We got the Carne Asada is back. We got these episodes here as well. Good time. We're trying to hit 15K subscribers, so be sure to subscribe if you had not already. But we will see you guys on the next one. Again, Scott, thank you for coming on. Jacob, good to have you as well. And we will see you on the next one. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. Have a good night, guys.